For most of my life, I believed I knew who I was. I believed because others told me. My parents told me. My teachers told me. My religion told me. And because I was young, I accepted their answers. As children, we inherit identities before we discover them. We inherit beliefs, values, fears, dreams, and we wear them as if they were our own. I grew up religious. Every night before sleep, I prayed. I spoke to a God somewhere above the clouds, and I believed He listened. My identity grew around that belief. I wanted to serve Him. I wanted to dedicate my life to Him. I wanted to become a missionary. That was who I thought I was. So I studied theology, certain I was walking toward my purpose. But the deeper I went, the less certain I became. The more people I met, the more versions of God I discovered. Different faces, different names, different certainties. Yet everyone claimed theirs was the truth. And slowly something began to crack. Not because I wanted it to, but because I could no longer ignore what I was seeing. Eventually I stopped praying. Not out of anger, not out of rebellion, but out of honesty. For years I had spoken into the silence, and the silence never answered. Only my own voice returning to me. And one day I admitted something I had feared for a long time. I no longer believed in the God I had inherited. The identity built around that belief collapsed with it. And for a while I felt lost. Because when an identity dies, something dies with it. You begin asking questions you never thought to ask. Who am I without this belief? Who am I without this story? Who am I without this role? So I searched science, philosophy, psychology, spirituality. Everywhere I went, people offered answers. Some said there is no God. Others said God is everything. Some said consciousness creates reality. Others said reality creates consciousness. And for a time I followed many of those roads. Because when one identity collapses, the temptation is to replace it with another. But eventually, I noticed the same pattern repeating itself. Different language, different symbols, different beliefs, the same hunger for certainty, the same desire to explain the mystery. Today, I hear people say, I am God, I am the source, I am the universe. And I understand why. I walked those roads too. But something inside me remained unconvinced. Not because I reject the mystery, but because I learned how easily the ego can wear spiritual clothing. The older I become, the less interested I am in declaring what God is, and the more interested I am in listening. Because if this journey has taught me anything, it is humility. I do not know what God is. I do not know what lies beyond death. I do not know what existed before existence itself. These things stand beyond my reach, beyond my understanding, beyond my words. But I have learned something, not as a doctrine, not as a belief, as an experience. I no longer look for God somewhere above me, somewhere beyond the stars, somewhere outside existence. I experience something sacred within, not as a person, not as a voice, not as a figure sitting on a throne, but as a presence, a mystery, a living reality moving through all things. Sometimes I call it God. Sometimes I call it the One. Sometimes I call it the wholeness. The name matters less than the experience. And what I discovered changed the way I see myself. I no longer see myself as separate from that mystery. But neither do I imagine myself to be the whole of it. I am not the chosen one. I am not the savior. I am not the center of the universe. I am a mirror, a place where the wholeness looks into itself, a place where existence experiences itself, a place where the mystery becomes conscious of its own reflection. And so are you. Not because I am special, not because you are special, but because every conscious being participates in the same mystery. The wholeness sees through you, feels through you, loves through you, learns through you, just as it does through me. Every one of us is a unique reflection of something infinitely greater than ourselves. And perhaps that is our task, to transform, to take fear and turn it into courage, to take hatred and turn it into understanding, to take illusion and turn it into truth. Because the deeper I look into life, the less I see separation, the less I see scarcity. What I see is abundance, and abundance most of us have forgotten. Yet beneath all our fears, divisions, and stories, something remains untouched. Something whole, something eternal, something present in every human being. And perhaps the greatest illusion is believing we are alone. Because we have never been alone, not for a single moment. The wholeness has always been here, breathing through us, seeing through us, waiting patiently for us to remember. And perhaps that is the answer I spent my life searching for. Not who God is, but who we are. A reflection, a participant, a living window through which the mystery learns to know itself.